Well, there's a new petition out there I want to make people aware of. White House petition. Now, I know a lot of people are annoyed about how they're going to ban guns now because of the shooting with Adam Lanza. And actually, as a side note, now the media is reporting that, and this is not actually the media reporting, it's the police reporting it. There was no rifles used in the shooting over in Sandy Hook. The rifle was left in the car. Actually, so no rifles were used. It was only handguns. So I don't know. Maybe you're going to try to ban rifles anyway. But hey, let's do a little pushback for some people who agree with me. This isn't going to be a political post. But I'm going to throw a few things in here that maybe that thinks outside the box and a little bit about American history and who some of the real evildoers are. But this petition is to impeach Senator Dianne Feinstein for violating her oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. She wants to disarm Americans. You know, she'll backtrack and say, no, it's only semi-automatics. Forget it. Semi-automatics are part of the Constitution. Everything's part of the Constitution. The average American should be allowed to own the same thing the military owns, and he can get rid of most of the military. You know, what's the military actually for? The military is for defending our nation. It's not for going overseas and killing people for oil interest and everything else. And yeah, I have read General Smedley Butler's War is a Racket many times. I have. I actually put videos out on it. But the purpose of this, and actually I'm going to get on to another twist on something a little more unique that's not actually on YouTube, but even about the so-called criminals. But Dianne Feinstein is basically working for, in my opinion, the elite that want to disarm everybody in America. She's playing up to that crowd, and she's not holding her oath of office at all. So impeach her. Impeach her. You know, we have a shooting, and it has nothing to do with guns. Actually, it has everything to do with psychotropic drugs that this kid is on. And she's going to try to disarm everybody. Disarm the military. How about disarming the military? Because they're the ones that actually kill people left and right. For what? For what? Public policy? I don't think so. It's corporate policy, isn't it? But I want to get back to something here, and I'm going to show you a unique twist. This is a picture of Al Capone. You know, public enemy number one, the big evil guy, right? And I guess he was evil or whatever. But I'm going to tell you something. In some ways, a lot of people that talk very nice are more evil. And, you know, one thing I remember about Al Capone said, you know, like not that I was around at that time, but he also, he talked about the stock market in America in the 1920s. Kind of funny what he said about it. He said it was a racket. Don't trust it. It's a racket. It's a casino game. Don't trust it. It's a racket. You know what? Trust your broker, you're going to get screwed. Actually, if you trusted what he said, you would have been correct. Now, how did Al Capone actually come into existence? I mean, really, what was his bread and butter? What was his revenue from? I know it was prostitution, that type of stuff too, but it was mainly booze, alcohol, prohibition. But why did prohibition come about? Was it because of the prohibitionists, the women, the abolitionists, and all that type of stuff? In a way, but it really was financed by John D. Rockefeller. Why did he finance it? I went over this before a couple of times, but I probably got new listeners, and I'm going to actually show a couple other things on this. Why did John D. Rockefeller finance prohibition? He acted like he was playing Christian. No, he wasn't. What he was doing, he was banning the sale of alcohol because alcohol was competing with his crude oil product, gasoline. Gasoline came from Standard Oil, Rockefeller Standard Oil. It was sold in the cities. And guess what? Alcohol came from the farmers. So ban the sale of alcohol, and you just expanded your markets infinitely more because most of the sales were actually outside the cities. People traveled outside the cities. Independent farmers were providing fuel for the cars. Actually, the cars ran fine in both fuels. And yet, as a side note, industrial hemp produces 10 times the amount of fuel than corn, but we won't use it, even though there's no drug in it. So, actually, Al Capone and the whole mafia and organized crime that happened in the 30s came about because of the banning of the sale of alcohol, something people wanted. So they gave it to them. They gave it to them. But the thing is, it wasn't banned because it was a devil's brew. It was banned because it was competition with Standard Oil. Now, I'm going to say something else. Why do you think organized crime and criminals got away with so much in the 30s? Oh, I know in the movies they like to play like, oh, they just got away and all the G-men and everybody's after them and all this kind of garbage. You know why they got away with it? People helped them. A lot of these people were considered like Robin Hoods. Maybe not Al Capone himself, but other people were. People helped them. People helped hide them because they were so pissed off at the banksters, not the gangsters. They were so pissed off at the banksters for like losing all their money. So if a gangster robbed a bank and a mortgage wasn't recorded and all of a sudden the mortgage got destroyed in the process of robbing the bank and burning the bank down or something, well, guess what? The farmer got a free mortgage, and sometimes that happens. So a lot of people were actually on the side of the gangster. Now, the news media, boy, they played that up left and right, just like they always play up everything. Everything's a big stage. Everything's a big drama show. And you know, not that I'm anti-police, but you know, if the bad guys weren't around, it gives a big reason for actually having police and FBI and all this kind of garbage. It actually justifies their jobs, which in a way is a joke in some ways, because a lot of times these people are actually providing a service that society wants. But you know, like prostitution's illegal, gambling's illegal. And you know, who the hell makes it illegal? You know, this is where Christians aggravate me sometimes, because actually the ones that are actually using these services many times are Christians. And they're going to church and they're saying one thing out of one side of the mouth and they're doing something else. So, you know, that's, in other words, it doesn't exist because the organized crime makes it exist. It exists because the people want it. So maybe all these things ought to be legal. How's that? You know? But you know, it's like if there wasn't crimes, I guess there wouldn't be police, right? Then what would you do? You know, it's like a big game. It's a big show. The whole thing, all of it. So, and a lot of times, organized crime, the only reason it really exists is because it fills a need. But during the 1930s, actually, the average person was more pissed off at the banks and the banksters than they were with the gangsters. And that's why the gangsters actually got over. Then they banned, I think, the automatic weapons. I think that was in 1934. They had the firearms stamp and stuff like that. Actually, you think about it, what the hell did they even ban that for? The only ones that were using it were gangsters, right? I mean, you say, yeah, you know, really, they were more using it on each other than anybody. And if you look today, you know, Obama allows all these things to be sold to and from Mexico left and right just recently with the recent scandals that go on. You know, as a matter of fact, I could tell you I had friends that were in recon in the Marine Corps. They can get anything with no numbers on it. Anything. I mean, I don't have this shit. They can get it. I remember this years ago. I used to wonder how they really did. They really did. They got the stuff because I was on the range with them, and I'm firing my semi-automatic. This guy's firing his automatic, and actually it turned out that some of the people nearby bitched about it or something like that. But it was actually a recon guy out of the Marine Corps that was firing the stuff. He actually got a freaking. He was actually able to get the stuff with no numbers. So much for freaking laws. You know what's going to happen if they banned weapons in the United States? The reality is the only ones that would have it would be the gangsters. And you know who would hire the gangsters? Big corporations to protect themselves. So in other words, if you go out on strike, the same result that happened in South Africa with the platinum mines, and you know, this was not even apartheid and white people, it was all, you know, everybody was African black, right? I mean, it wasn't even a racial thing like in the old days in South Africa. It was like the miners against the police. The police mowed them down with machine guns. And you know, there's no jobs over there in South Africa. So for them to strike and be that determined to have a strike, tells you they must be working under appalling conditions. And then they had another strike after that. So the mines fired like, I forgot how many thousands of workers. They just flat out fired them. So what would happen if you banned weapons? The military would get them. There'd be inside people in the military, like I told you about the recon, that would sell them to the gangsters. The gangsters would work for corporations, and they'd be the strong arm for corporations and big money families. And the only ones that'll be paying the price is the average person. But you know, I actually got to point out though that a lot of the stuff with organized crime, gangs, it is a media hype garbage thing too. They actually encourage this stuff. They do. They glorify it in movies. And it also gives a justification for like the police. Oh, we're doing our job fighting organized crime. We're doing this. Actually, think about it. If they made all these things, you know, legal, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem. You know, even with drugs. You know, if somebody wants to screw themselves up on drugs, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, you could take a can of glue or something and screw yourself up. I mean, you could buy glue anywhere. You could buy paint thinner anywhere. Stick your head in there and breathe it up and screw your head up, right? Most people don't do that. I mean, that's really just stupid to do. You know where the problem is, where it's like becomes a problem? It's when they decide to like spend like $500,000 trying to rehabilitate somebody or some garbage. You know, that type of stuff. And actually, I pointed out there's $10 ways to rehabilitate people. But, you know, we got to do it the expensive way. Because we like money. We got to have a racket. You know, organized crime isn't those kind of rackets. That's the medical profession. But it is a big bunch of drama. You know, it's like, you know, the police justify their existence. The FBI justifies their existence. The Drug Enforcement Agency justifies their existence. All over the drama about, you know, drug traffickers and all this other garbage. Just make everything legal. Guess what happened? No organized crime, and you don't need the government freaking going after anybody. Guess that makes me a libertarian, right? But for the most part, actually, the biggest organized crime in this country is the real big money, the banksters. The banksters. It's kind of funny that even the worst guy, somebody like Al Capone, was alerting the average schmuck about the stock market. And you know, I guess those words might ring true today, because I personally don't trust too much on paper either. Maybe paper cash, it may be the one thing that's really important. I don't trust electronic accounts, and I don't trust what's going on in the commodities markets. I think the spot prices are rigged. And just like I was pointing out, like with platinum should be a hell of a lot more money right now. I mean, they're killing strikers over there left and right with machine guns, and they're firing them left and right, and they're having to pull stuff out of like stockpiles to meet demand, and the price is low. Yeah, tell me another one. Tell me another one. So who's really the banksters and the gang? Those are the gangsters. It's the banksters. So anyway, just wanted to point a little bit of insight, because basically the major media, they like playing up organized crime so they can have organized control by the government. You know, it kind of works. You know, you got to have a big drama story why we need to have something else happen. Just like with the Adam Lanza shooting. You know, maybe that was a whole big rig thing too, for all I know. But basically that was all off of psychotropic drugs more than guns. But, you know, think about it. Look, think about any gun law that even came about even from the 30s with the National Firearms Act of 1934. It came about because of the gangsters. And really, why were the gangsters, why'd they come about? Because of Prohibition. But why did Prohibition come about? Because John D. Rockefeller did not like the alcohol sales competition coming from the farmers. He wanted the whole auto industry gasoline sales for himself, for his Standard Oil. So, you know, people can't see the trees. You know, they can't see the forest because they're looking at tree bark, basically. And the whole thing is a big snow job with the freaking organized crime and everything. Organized crime wouldn't exist if stuff's legal. You know? Really, think about it. So what there's prostitution and gambling and drugs? So what? So what? Big deal. Big deal. You know? I mean, if people want to do stupid things, go right ahead. I mean, are you going to put like a 50-foot fence around every cliff in the freaking world because some idiot might walk off the cliff? No. Are you going to put a monitor on everybody in a GPS in case they walk over a cliff? No. No. You can't freaking prevent people from doing stupid things. If they want to do stupid things, fine. Fine. And you can say the societal cost. The thing is, you don't have to freaking help these people. And you know, you think about it, these doctors and medical people that go around helping all these people, they ain't doing it out of the love of their heart. They're doing it because of money. And there's a lot cheaper ways to rehabilitate people off of drugs. But the doctors ain't going to do that because there's no money in it. There's no money in it. There's cheap ways to rehabilitate people off of drugs, and I actually showed those. Stuff that practically costs nothing, and it works in over 90% of the cases. But they don't do that. So, you know, it's wonderful. Like, you know, actually I have more respect for the freaking crooks on the bottom than I do for the people on the top. The people walking around with initials after their names and stuff, I can't stand them. They're the biggest phony bunch of garbage going. And they're evil as all hell. But people freaking walk around and they respect them like they're gods. Now, I don't like respect somebody like Al Capone or something like that. But I do realize that organized crime only exists because it's fulfilling a need that people actually want. So, you know what? Make it legal. Make everything legal. I guess that's a libertarian platform, you know, and that's why I voted for Gary Johnson. And, you know, the way I look at it, you know, I'm not saying that you should go out and gamble, do drugs and prostitution. I'm just saying that, you know, individual choice. The United States is built upon individual choice. That's why we have entrepreneurs, innovation, and hard work, because individuals actually who do the right thing excel. And we don't have to pay for anybody's stupid mistakes. There's no societal charge. It's a bunch of garbage. So, just let me put it out to you that way. And that's just my message. But anyway, as far as Dianne Feinstein, sign a petition if you disagree with what she's doing. And have her removed from office. That'll be the game that you could play back at her. She's an evil lady.